All right, so first and foremost, I just wanted to say shout out to Matthew Wild on Twitter who shared this with me. Today we're going to be talking about this article that came out from Nintendo Soup and sort of the broader context around it. The article is titled Gamefreak Plans to Continue Developing New Original Games Moving Forward. Now, why would I even talk about this? Well, a lot of people have levied criticism towards Gamefreak in recent years because Pokemon games feel very unpolished, unfinished, lacking in content, etc., despite their high sales. And some YouTubers have actually made the correlation between the fact that they've been developing a lot more games lately than they used to. Like before, they'd maybe be working on like 1 or 2 side projects. And I think ever since Pokemon reached the 3D era, it's been like 4 or 5. So we're going to go through this article and I'm going to kind of give you guys my opinion. Although primarily known as a developer responsible for mainline Pokemon games, Gamefreak has also produced a number of original games outside of the franchise, including Pulseman, Little Town Hero, Pocket Card Jockey, and Tembo the Badass Elephant. And then we're getting pop-ups here. Although these titles are not nearly as successful as Pokemon, it seems Gamefreak plans to continue developing new original titles moving forward. In a recent interview with Video Games Chronicle, Masafumi Saito, general manager of Gamefreak's development department 1, explained how it was, quote, very important, quote, for Gamefreak to keep creating original games that can become beloved all over the world, quote, like the Pokemon series. This was the entire quote. It's very important to Gamefreak to keep taking on the challenge of creating original new games. I think that creating a game from scratch, putting it out there, and getting good reception is a great motivator for creators and is also very significant in terms of its meaning for the growth of the company. With that said, we do not think in terms of limiting original games to small-scale projects. It's been 10 years since we established a department that deals with original games. Initially, team members did the same thing while also developing Pokemon, so it was hard to concentrate on developing original games. Now we work with external companies so that we can start experimenting with moving on projects on a similar scale simultaneously. Now, they're saying that we can start experimenting with projects on a similar scale simultaneously. Do they mean a similar scale to Pokemon? Because like that's a lot. We want new titles to come out of Gear Project that are beloved by a lot of people across the world, like the Pokemon series has been. Given that Game Freak's recent Pokemon offerings have been somewhat polarizing despite their financial success, it would be interesting to see how Game Freak's future original ideas will be received. Stay tuned for more as it comes. So that's all the article had to say, very short, but I have a lot to say about this. Now, number one, people are going to say, who cares what Game Freak does? It's their business, what they do with their business. Now, this is how I want to sort of preface this. The Pokemon games, a huge issue with them is they're not given enough development time. It doesn't seem like enough resources go to Pokemon, and they're dividing their resources even further by working on new games. Now, do I think it's healthy for developers to get a break from working on Pokemon and going to work on other games to sort of like invigorate them and give them a refresher? Yes, but it seems like they actually have developers that are specifically relegated to other games. So it's not like the Pokemon devs are actually getting a break. These are other devs at Game Freak that are not working on Pokemon. Now, this is the thing, okay? Pokemon as a franchise has way more resources than they actually run their studio. Like they almost run Game Freak like a mid-sized studio. Whereas you look at like another game that sold similarly to Pokemon. I think it actually outsold, but look at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, okay? They had 3,000 people working on this game. Now, is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the new one, is that this amazing breakthrough game? No, it has bugs, it has issues. That happens with a lot of these games, but it definitely feels more content heavy than Pokemon, 100%. They have a lot more people working on these games. They need to up Game Freak's studio size. If Game Freak's going to be the main developers that are working on Pokemon, they can't keep fighting this like 2-3 front war while only having like 100 developers. I know there is the law of diminishing results. Having 600 developers doesn't make you develop twice as fast as having 300, but it still does speed up the process to a certain extent. To me, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, to me, I feel like Game Freak's kind of like tired of making Pokemon games. A lot of the newer generations just don't feel like they have the same level of passion. You hear quotes from the developers saying stuff like, we didn't want to put too much content because people move on and this and that. Like you hear those type of quotes and that just doesn't sound like very inspired game developers. Everyone talks about this quote from Heart Gold and Soul Silver where the developers were basically, or the developer in question was basically talking about how they wanted to fit more content into the remake and it's more than just a remake and this and that. That sounds like passion. Whereas if you listen to their quotes from like current day, they're just not as passionate as they used to be. Like that's a vibe. Now, does this include all of the developers in the entire studio? Obviously, no. I think increasing the size of the studio would actually help in getting fresh blood that actually wants to, you know, push Pokemon to the next level. I think that would be great. I also think that a big issue is that these Pokemon games need 2-year development times. I don't know, maybe they should just do something like what Call of Duty does, like have 2 studios work on Pokemon games and develop them every other year instead of every year. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you can have like an A studio and a B studio that work on mainline games, but they put them out like every other year would be from one studio and every other year would be from the other studio. That might actually help with the time issue. I think they should just have bigger gaps between games. A lot of people will disagree, saying that, well, they need to move the merch. No, they don't. It's not our job to make sure that Pokemon makes the maximum amount of money. Like, I never understood that argument. If Pokemon needs to release a new generation every 3 years because they need to keep in line with like the anime and the merch, why didn't they do that for the first like 4 generations of Pokemon? They didn't have to do it. They just realized they can make more money by doing it. In 10 years, are they going to start releasing generations every 2 years? People are going to use the same excuse, right? Like it doesn't really hold water. But anyways, that's kind of like my little rant for today. Again, this is just like an unscripted sort of discussion topic. I don't think Game Freak is bad for wanting to try new things, but like this sort of where they say like, we want new titles to come out of Gear Project that are beloved by lots of people across the world, like the Pokemon series has been. It sounds like Game Freak is trying to get a sort of backup to Pokemon. Like they don't want to just be known for Pokemon. They're tired of living in Pokemon's shadow, and they want something big to come out of it. From what I can tell, none of their games have actually had like decent success, like obviously compared to Pokemon, but just in general. I'm not sure how Little Town Hero did. I heard that it didn't do so well for them. And I just like, it just feels like a lot of the passion is going into these side games. Like if you look at Little Town Hero, like a lot of the animations and stuff are really nice. And it just feels like a lot of like passion is going into that, while Pokemon is just like funding that passion, which is kind of sad. Like I miss having post-game content. I miss Pokemon games feeling very meaty and stuff like that. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion. Let me know yours. And if you liked the video, definitely make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my Discord, Twitter, all that fun stuff to stay up to date on monster taming games. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.